started. Hi, everyone. I'm Elise Arsenault. If you don't know me, I'm the host of the Stay at Home Actor series. I'm also founder of the Global Actor. I'm a career coach for actors, and I help actors live where they want and work when they want. And the Stay at Home Actor series is completely for you during this time. So if you find today helpful, I really hope that you will invite your fellow actors to join us. Check it out. This is one of our last live episodes. After today, we're going to do one more episode on June 1st. Then we'll take a little bit of a break. But if you haven't been able to make the past few sessions live, no sweat. We're going to have all the replays up. But without further ado, I'm so excited to welcome our first guest. So a warm welcome to Brian Pataka, the Representation Whisperer. I love it. Welcome, Brian. Yay. Let me make sure I can unmute you.
It's okay. I'll do it
all.
Yeah,
there you are. Yay. Thanks.
Hi, guys.
Yay.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Wow, I know you have so many choices to make right now on the internet of where you decide to go for a free something. And I just want to thank Elise for having me, and thank you all for choosing to be here today. I'm going to pack this with as much value as I possibly can. And I know we're going to take your questions. So I'm just so grateful you chose to be here with us. I'm glad.
Yay. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so excited to talk about this topic today because it's a big one. Representation, how to pursue representation right now, finding representation in general, what we can, or maybe what you maybe recommend not doing during this time. Yeah. And Brian, if you're open to it, I have a question that came in first. But before I dive into that, actually, can you just share a little bit about how you are right now? Because that's the thing, we're all in this together. So how are you? How have you been through this time and just today?
I will say that I am a person who is mostly okay, and then I have moments of quite extreme sadness, and sadness for the world. I'm healthy. The people in my family are healthy. I feel very lucky because of that. But I also have moments of extreme sadness for, thinking about the future, what's next. And I find right now it's really hard to be present because we're so worried about the future.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly in a argument with myself, I would even say, to stay where I am. And then I also, I'm here with my partner in our house nonstop, and we're doing mostly like 90%. And I feel like the most in love with him I've ever been. And then also there's 10% of like, okay, I need to go away. Like, and that can be a hard negotiation when you love each other very much. And it's like a very different rhythm. So I appreciate you making a space for me to speak to that. And I hope that others of you listening are kind of seeing kind of how there's no right way to navigate through this. And one of the things that I've continued to say is the idea that you shouldn't be emotional is not the way to say you're doing this well. The way to do this well is to commit to, it's okay to be emotional. That's a different, permission slip. We all need a very big permission slip. It's like wedding day permission slip. Like when it's your wedding day, you get to be whoever you want to be. You get to be a little bit of a bridezilla right now is what I say in terms of your emotions. That doesn't mean be cruel, but it does mean like, okay, I'm feeling this way. It's very similar to the way we feel about grief, right? That it can take over whatever. So I'm doing great. All that is to say, I'm doing great. I'm really glad to be here. And, I have a moment here and there, and going outside in the sunshine or non-sunshine works for me to help that. And so does just making it okay that I don't feel great at every moment of every day.
Totally. And I think that's really beautiful what you say about it's okay to feel things. In fact, as an actor, if you're not feeling things right now, how open are you emotionally? Because I think it's wonderful to go through that. I mean, it sucks. It sucks to feel pain. It sucks to feel sad. But at the same time, what a wonderful opportunity to feel things.
I would say this will be the last thing I say. When my father was dying, I had a really wonderful acting teacher, and she said to me, just allow yourself to feel all your feelings. And it was one of the best pieces of advice that I got through the whole thing. And that was, of course, through stages of grief, which I think a lot of what we're going through now, and to allow yourself to feel it, not because it's just going to be a tool for you later in your life, but because your own judgment of what you are feeling does not help you navigate through it. That's just one more step in the way of you being able to be with it. So I hope that helps anyone out there who might be feeling a little low today or when it comes up tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So in talking about representation,
yes.
I would love to get started with a very specific question that I think is going to then lead into some other things. this is a specific question coming from an actor who is working currently on TV and film. And I mean, currently, like before the pandemic.
Sure.
She was working at the recurring and guest star level, and she's recently making the move from New York to LA,
Mm-hmm.
and was going to be pursuing representation, a
Mm-hmm.
new legit agent
Mm-hmm.
and new bicoastal management.
Okay.
She's wondering how that search looks different now,
So,
if at all
yeah.
different.
Yeah. So two things. There's a lot to this. So I'm going to talk for a long time, and you're going to interrupt me when you want me to say something again or need to say different. And you guys continue to throw the questions in there. So I think right now, this is a great question to start with. So I think right now it is uncomfortable to reach out to managers and agents because they are very worried about their own clients getting work, and their own clients aren't getting work right now. And so it can feel like, why am I not bothering to knock on their door when maybe they don't even care? Or it feels maybe tone deaf to be knocking on their door. So it makes you look a little delusional. Like, why are they, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alicia's giving me hands. I also know a couple clients who actually have signed with voiceover agents. I have a client who got a meeting with a manager. Now, I don't think that now is the right time to reach out. I can't tell you that I'm going to know the magical moment when it is, because that's a little bit like moving. It's never a good time to move. Mm-hmm. I also believe that like reaching out to managers and agents can happen any time of the year. I do believe like February might not be the best month, but other than that, I'm pretty good about it. So what I would say to that actress is, I'm going to make the assumption that this actress has a lot of great footage right now. Can I make that? She
does. And she's also a creator.
Right. So if she's got a lot of great footage right now, it's going to be about how do I almost want to turn this word upside down. I would say searching for representation. I almost hate that phrase because I want it to be about them finding you. I want them to be choosing you. And to me, that means, I see actors go through all this. Let me make a target list. Let me make the perfect number of people because I'm going to research them and they're my friends' people and da-da-da-da-da. And they go on this rabbit hole of making this perfect target list, which is just a big waste of time. Sorry, I'm going to say a lot different than what you guys have heard in the other world. That is not what I do not believe in target lists. And part of the reason that I don't believe in a target list is you have no business knowing a manager or agent's heart. There's no way you know it. You can do all the research you want. You will never know. Now, you'll see their track record. Great. You'll get a good sense of who they book and what they don't book, but you're not going to get a good sense of what makes them go, yes, this actor, because your resume might look exactly the same as someone else who comes to meet with them. But at the end of that meeting, that person has to say, I have a good feeling about you. I have a good feeling about Genevieve. She's right in the middle, so I'm pointing at her. Great. So I have a good feeling about Genevieve, so I'm going to pick her, right? So to me, I am counter target list, and I am much more cast a broad net. And that may be like, what do you mean send hundreds of emails? And yeah, I do. I mean send hundreds of emails. But what that does mean is because you're not putting skin in the game to research hundreds of managers and agents, you're putting skin in the game to research yourself. So whatever you're using to reach out to them is a very heart-centered, vulnerable reach out where it could not be the letter that I hand to somebody else and they just fill in the blanks. It's got to feel like there is skin in the game. It's got to feel like your heart is on that page. This does not mean be delusional. This does not mean sound like you're giving them your full life story in 13 pages, right? That it does mean that I can't use your letter just as easily. You can't be tossed aside. I have to feel that there's some guts in it. And it's going to feel really vulnerable. So what I would say to that actress is, chances are your credits don't matter because we're not worried about them because they're great. Your footage doesn't matter because it's great. At this point, what we want for you is a fabulous manager and agent who love and adore you and want to be with you for a long time. And so rather than searching for how am I going to find one, I would say, okay, great. Where's the work that I can do with myself so that I can put myself out there so that they can choose me? So right now, because it's not a great time to, I think, reach out, I would be focused on working on a letter that does that, working on materials that I want to present, and putting together that big ass list of people. Sorry, I said a bad word, you guys. Maybe that doesn't count anymore as a bad word. I'm not sure.
You're allowed.
Okay. That's where I want her to be focusing her time. Now, this isn't to say that I believe referrals exist. I also believe referrals are a really easy way to put somebody else in the middle of a decision maker. So I'm going to meet with this actor because my client referred me to them. So I'm doing it as a favor to my client. It's not coming from that, oh my gosh, their acting is so good. I love their acting. And to me, that is why in this process, you really have to put your acting out first. That's why it feels vulnerable. So whether that's a reel or a self-tape or whatever it is, that you are really putting yourself out there and there's skin in the game in that way. So kind of marrying the vulnerability of your actor story to the vulnerability of putting your acting out there is kind of what I think is the way to attract the right person. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
what you're talking about, Brian, makes it more connected to who we are and actually less. I know a lot of actors feel a little sleazy when they reach out, or like a little slimy if they're just reaching out to someone that they don't know. But by making it so personal and true for them, it just sounds like it's more authentic.
Yeah, 100%. You just nailed it. That's exactly what it is. It
Yeah.
should feel, and it should feel vulnerable. It shouldn't feel sleazy. It should definitely feel vulnerable. Oh, wow. I'm revealing something about myself. I'm getting not vulnerable, like I'm revealing something that I shouldn't tell someone on the street, that kind of, not that kind of, but you know what I mean? But it should still feel like I'm giving you something. I'm letting you know more of who I am rather than just because here's the thing. If you lean into the facts and figures of your resume, which most actors are like, I don't know if I have enough good stuff on there. No. Like, we're gnashing our teeth at it. Then you are buying into that story if you're not putting skin in the game, because you're saying, look at my resume, which isn't good enough, but choose me anyway. But what you really are wanting them to say is, I choose you because I believe in you. I see what's ahead of you, not what's behind you. Your resume to me shouldn't, like I say this, but I say this is your resume shouldn't look like a passport. It should look like an airline ticket, because sure, it's going to have the things you've done, but I need to be able to see, where are you going? Because great, I can know you went to that school, but where does it show me that you're going, not just where you've been, right? Sure. So that to me is a big part of what you want to be clear in when you're reaching out to reps and managers. Where are you headed? What's next for you from a non-delusional point of view, right?
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. And then a final part to this person's question was, do you think it's feasible to get this representation, for instance, by September? I know that's like putting it down. How do you feel about deadlines?
I feel that I hate this question. First of all,
good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad, because it leads you to like, good. Tell me why. And then let's get into how you think we should be thinking about it.
I hate this question because I don't want to be the arbiter of your actions, you guys. I do not want to be the one who decides when you feel right about reaching out. So there's that piece of it. And I know that when I'm put in the position of a speaker on a panel, I may look like I have all the answers, and I want to be mindful of you that I'm navigating through this just as well as you are. Well, maybe not even as well. I'm just navigating it too. So what I mean by that is, we're going to get a sign. You remember how when the NBA said no more games for the year, or whatever that was like the sign was, okay, things are changing. I feel that we're going to get a sign on the other side. Okay, things are picking back up again. We're going to get like a thing from SAG, or there's going to be like this, Paramount has announced we're shooting again, or something's going to happen where we're going to start to feel like the business is now back on track. And that's going to be, you're going to have to intuitively choose when to do this. I think that the trick of this is, you're not going to send the same email you would send today that you would have sent in February or December or November. You're going to have to speak into this moment a little bit so that you don't appear tone deaf, right? I also have a really great, this is my glass half full perspective on the human being, which is, I think that a lot of us are going to want to return to having days that are filled with people coming to our office to have meetings, to meet with actors, and that managers and agents are going to want to return to their sense of what was normal. It may not be a meeting inside their office, right? And so I have this great hope that we're going to see a little bit of a bustle around this. I don't know what it's going to look like. It may look like a trickle rather than a bustle. But that's the best I can do on a hard answer. So I think in terms of September, I think it will be a great time to check the wind in September.
Right, for sure.
I think the wind will have changed by then.
Right. That's great. Do you have, when you're working with actors to find representation, what are the biggest mistakes that you see actors making?
Please, no one cares about your freaking website. Let me tell you why. So actors spend a lot of time making gorgeous websites. And here's what happens. And the thing is I'm a victim of this. I did the same thing. So you put on your website like every acting thing you've ever done, and here's your improv group, and here's you singing, and here's the YouTube videos, and here's this, and here's everything. And it becomes a little bit like the Library of Congress for you, like the library of my work that I've done. Everything I've ever done is on this website, right? The problem is you don't get to control the narrative anymore. So when your email lands on someone's desk and they go, let me go look at their website. Oh, well, they did that content, and then they're a singer, and then I see them do this real scene. I don't have a vision of where you're going because I get to see all these different, you're just a multifaceted actor. How good for you. What I need to know is how to submit you for the job that says, think Amy Adams that I just got on my desk today. I don't need to know all of these things because I don't need all those things. So what I say about a website is, like, for myself, I have a website that has all my acting work on it. I don't act anymore. No one ever needs to see that. I kept it there so I can go look and share with my boyfriend if I want to, whatever. But if it's not something that's where you're working towards, it needs to be not taking up real estate in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So that it's in their mind as that's what they're doing. So if you've got, crappy footage on there, or even you have crappy footage on YouTube, remove it. We only want to be able to see where are you going. That goes for casting too. Make sure that's very clear. It goes for directors, goes for writers, right? We don't want to only see where you've been. We want to know where you're going. And we don't want to see the 10 million things that like I have a client right now. She is fabulous career as a cabaret singer and went to a lot of countries, sang, She really just wants her TV career to keep moving. So we're not going to deny that she was a cabaret singer, but you can sure as shit bet we cut a lot of it off of her resume and gave it a very tiny blurb. This is a little something about me in the past. We can go into more in person or something. It is not a place where you can go down a rabbit hole where it's going to confuse the person who's trying to cast, Law and Order. She's in New York, so I'm saying Law and Order. But does that make sense to you? So that's one mistake.
Yeah,
to me, the reason why I say it's one mistake is, I'm going to keep going. Okay, keep going, Elise. Okay.
Please.
The reason why it's one mistake is it's a mistake which will keep you busy for a long time. Oh, let me get my website right. And let me connect the dots to this. And let me get to this. And how can they sign in a form? And where's the contact me? And it can take you off the path of what's really intended for you for a long time. Because it feels kind of good to make a cute website. And it feels kind of good to have all your stuff in one freaking spot finally, right? And there is some merit to knowing where it all is. It feels good, but I got to tell you, it is not the right message. It's just not the right message, okay?
And
so
you're not, just to clarify, you're not saying don't have a website.
No.
It's just how to, right?
How to, yes. And for me, the other thing about this is I get that it feels good to have it all in one spot. There's like some ego around that. And so you have to kind of wrestle with your ego a lot when it comes to this. And what I will tell you is more often than not, I love the simple actor's website so much better. It should be just what I think of. This is going to sound aggressive, but I want you to control what they are allowed to think about you. I want you to wrestle them into a perspective. You're going to say, don't you dare read between the lines, because I'm going to tell you what to believe between the lines, between the lines of my resume, between the lines of what my credits are. You're not going to get to go down a path and make up a story about me, because I'm telling you what you're allowed to think about it.
Perfect. Yes. You're
spoon feeding. It feels really good. And what happens is you'll go to a meeting and someone will say, yeah, I see, like, they will feel like, oh, I better perform as good as I can be because you're going somewhere. Like you'll see that it reverberates in a really great way.
Beautiful. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. So speaking of materials, like our website, what other materials do you think are important in this search?
I keep looking over here because you're over here, but the camera's here, you guys. I'm just doing it. Okay, so say it again. Materials that you should have when you're for reps, right?
Yeah, and specifically reel, because I know you have some thoughts around an actor's reel, where it fits in.
Reel. Bye, reel. Bye. Give me all the money you were going to give to pay for your reel, please. I'll take it. You don't need to do it. It's a waste of time. So I'm going to give you the short reason why, right? I'm going to give you as much as I can today. So I'm not saying that your reel is bad if you have one. I want to be very clear. If you have a reel, terrific. You better be freaking in love with it. And if you're not, do what you need to do to get there. Okay? That's the end of the conversation about the reel. If you don't have a reel, be thankful you don't need to have one. What you need to have are incredible, mind-blowing, Olympic-level self-tapes. Because remember, especially now, that is how we are judging actors. And that's how we're judging our own actors every single day when they come in to meet with us. When my client, an actor, right? I'm pretending I'm a manager right now, so let's just be clear. Mm-hmm. The way I know my client is because they send me self-tapes all the time, and I get to see their acting all the time. Right. So what you want to do when you reach out to managers and agents and say, oh, hey, just wanted to let you know, I'm as good as the people you have on your roster. Look at the self-tape. It looks as good, I sound as good, and my acting is as good. Great. Right? We are, and I did a bunch of interviews. Before I created my representation course, I did all these interviews with managers and agents. And time and time again, they said, I just need a great self-tape. I just need a great self-tape. I just need to use it as evidence to get you into offices when I can't get you into an office. I need to have that again and again. And so I want to make this very clear. A website is fine. A reel is fine. Don't break your heart over either of them. break your heart and break the bank over making incredible audition tapes. That's where I think you should be investing in, and a terrific coach, a scene that fits you perfectly, and using those to open up the door, which I think is screws with people's brains, because like, how can that possibly be? How can I make that work? But I have to tell you, time and time again, the clients that I've helped get representation, we have not had to have a reel. That isn't to say some of them didn't have one, but it wasn't what started the conversation. It was the self-tape.
Great. Well, that makes so much sense, because if they're used to looking at the self-tapes all day, it's also like a mind trick. Like, you're so used to seeing self-tapes from your clients. Just imagine I'm your client. This is what it looks like. Versus if you have like this amazing clip that you've had produced, or this amazing reel that you've had produced, that doesn't necessarily say that you're good at self-taping. Would that be true?
And also, let's be real clear. Most of us are scraping our reel together from small roles and crap student films. So you're you're wrestling these things together. Or if you've got a few guest stars, maybe you got one or two, and you're like, you can do so much more than what your reel can show often. And what I don't mean is that your reel should be like, I can play this person, I can play that person. This is, again, going down that narrow path of, let me show you where I'm going. Let me show you what my castability is. When you watch my reel, you're going to think, think Amy Adams. This lady's making me think Amy Adams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to kind of lean into that castability.
Okay, great. We have a question. Actually, Nancy said, in regards to this clips, just clips, question mark. How do you feel about clips versus the reel?
The clips are great. The way that I would make the clips go is, remember that at the end of the day, I'm only talking about getting your butt in front of a manager or agent. I'm not talking about once you're there and what you're going to need to make that relationship work. So I want to be very careful, because lots of reps will be like, I actually need you to have a reel, or I actually want you to have clips, or I want you to have, like, they might change their tune once you got there, but I'm talking about getting there right now. I want to make sure we're really clear. So when it comes to clips, I think, if you're going to submit some self-tapes, maybe one of the self-tapes you submit is a clip. It's one scene. But what I don't want to see, big mistake, you didn't ask me this question, another mistake actors do, I don't care about your 2 lines on whatever show. I don't care about your 2 lines, because I'm not signing up to bring you on as a co-star. I am signing up to bring you on as a guest star and series regular that I can get real work all the time, because I want to make money. So don't belabor a crappy reel. I don't mean crappy. What I mean is a reel that doesn't really show us the meat of your acting. Don't work hard on that when it's going to be a bunch of 3-liners here and there. Like, give me a scene. Show me beginning, middle, and end. Show me that you can carry the weight of a character on screen enough, right? I think a lot of actors can dream small. I just need to get a co-star. I just really want to get my co-star. And I believe, sure, there is kind of a hierarchy that seems to work in the business. Once in a while, doesn't always apply. Some people just book a guest star right away, right? But what I don't like is when you're just reaching for the bottom rung, because I think it leaves you in your work becomes small. Your work doesn't become as big as your acting. And so suddenly you get tinier and tinier and tinier and tinier. So like, oh yeah, if we have a co-star job, I guess she'd be good to bring in for.
Okay.
We want you to have a bigger perspective on that.
Great point. Randy asks, how do you know an agent has the connections to get you in the CD door for auditions?
Such a good question, Randy.
I've had, Randy said, I've had an agent for 9 months and I've only had a few theatrical auditions for indie projects.
So this is a tough one. I'm going to give you a few ways to look at it. All right. These are some real takeaways. So grab your pens if you haven't so far. So one of the first things to do is to look at IMDb and see who is working on their profile. So if you look at their profile and they don't have, so remember, we're in a weird time, right? We might not see a lot of credits in 2019 because of our year, but I need to see, if I want to be on TV, I need to see that that manager or agent is getting people booked jobs in the last year. So I'd look at 2019 to see, are there credits on those clients for 2019 and what are they on? And are they shows that are real, right? Lightly. Right. And so that will tell you, yes, they actually have the power to open that door because they're getting their own clients in. That's one of the best ways to do it. The other is, this to me feels a little bit of sneaky administrivia. You're going to be wasting your time a little bit, but I'll give it to you if you really feel like you want to go down a black hole for 2 seconds. Randy, you're only allowed to set a timer for like 5 minutes and then stop doing this. You can look and you can see what shows their clients were booked on and if they're shows that you would be right for. And you can at least know, oh, well, then they must have a relationship with the casting offices that I actually want to go in to see. The reason why I say you're allowed to do that for 5 minutes is you kind of are going in a land where you might not be right because they probably have relationships with a lot of other casting offices too. That just might be another degree to kind of help you. That's one of the ways that I see it, Randy. I also want to say this to everyone. Every actor in the freaking world will say, I should be getting more auditions. Every actor in the world believes that. So someone has to be wrong, which means we think it's actors. And when I did these meetings with managers and agents, one of the most beautiful things she said, Elisa Taylor said to me, she's a manager. She said, every actor thinks they should be getting more auditions, and I get that. She said, but when you come to me and you say, hey, where are my auditions? It's a lot different than saying, what do we think is going on? Like, I don't know, my expectations should be here, but I know we really want me to be doing this. Is there anything we need to be doing? Or is this like, do we think this is kind of normal right now? Just what I call this, and this is what I ask for you to have, and you should have this in every relationship, especially your manager and agent, is a generous assumption of positive intent. So you're always bringing a generous and positive assumption to whatever their actions are, that they're working for you all the time. So if you take off the table that they're submitting your butt like crazy, what's the new question that comes to you? Hey, I'm noticing I'm not really going out for comedy that much right now. I know you're submitting me. Do we need something? Do I need a different headshot? What do we think it is? What I don't like it is when an actor goes in and says, what can I do to make your job easier? Okay, welcome to 1998. We're way past that, you guys. We have evolved. It's aligned spiritual individuals who are no longer going to ask that question. We're no longer saying, what can I do to help you? You're going to say, what do we think is going on? What do we need to do? Because the difference is by you saying, I'm going to get, what can I do to make your job better? Okay, I'm going to go ahead headshots. You're not giving space for that manager or agent to think about your situation and really get thoughtful with you, to really brainstorm. Because if you're going in there kind of guns blazing, like, okay, what do I need to do to make your job easier? They're going to pick the easy things. Get a resume, get a reel, it's going to be get a new headshot. That's going to be the easy things, as opposed to creating that crucible of, what do we think? What's going on? Let's look at this together. Is this
I love
right?
it. Yes. And I love we. I love using the word we. It's us. We're in a team. It's not, you're not doing this for me. Or is there anything else that you want to share with actors during this time, in this pandemic time, whether it has to do with agents and managers or just thoughts that you've had with the actors you've been working with?
One of the things that I heard recently that is, I want to be very clear. I am privileged in that my work looks the same with the pandemic going on. It is to meet one-on-one with clients like this, or to meet in a group with clients like this, and to have a Q&A with them and to help them serve. My goal, my mission is to help creative people live their life without suffering and get what they want, right? That's my goal. So your mission, your purpose, your given gifts have been aligned towards acting. And right now, there is not a lot of places for you to do that. Now, I know that there are some, and I hope that many of you are finding places to do that, but I think that this might be a time if acting was taken away, if we had to wipe that off of the planet for a second. I know this is a torturous thought for a second, but if we had to wipe it off, what was the purpose that you saw behind acting to fulfill? What was the purpose you were hoping to express through acting? It might be an easier time to find that. Why was I hoping to touch people? What was I hoping would come from that? And so if there's a gift in this moment, it might be that you have a little bit of a space to look at, what does acting mean to me in the first place? And I don't say, get to your why. I'm not going to say that. I think it's a little harder than just get to your why. And whether that is to wake people up, to make them get present, to make them think more deeply, to be more kind, whatever that is, that we can get in touch with that purpose. And I have to be honest with you, most often when I see an actor step into understanding that about themselves, their reach for representation is so much easier. Because they're looking for someone who aligns with that more than, can you get me auditions and blah. And they go into that meeting so much more powerfully. So if you can use this time to look at that, and the thing is, okay, I'm going to use this time to look at that, Brian, thanks, really helpful. Let me give you kind of a takeaway so you can actually do that. Set a timer for 20 minutes, get a piece of paper, and just start writing with no outcome in mind. What does acting mean to me? Or why is acting important to me? And write without judgment. There's also this really wonderful website that I just found out about, you guys. It's called 750 Words. It only lets you write 750 words, and then it emails you the words afterwards, and it analyzes the words that you used, like emotional, intellectual, blah, 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 blah.
Ooh,
and it's free, and it's super cool. And so maybe you want to go into 750 Words, which is 3 pages of paper, essentially, and write, why is acting important? Now, listen, this is the kind of task I would freaking skip. I want to be really mindful. This is the kind I would be. I got this. I'm going to spiritually bypass this task. I can figure that out. I don't have to do this exercise. The difference is it won't stick. You're like Teflon with these thoughts. These thoughts can go right away. And the thoughts that stick are negative thoughts. So my wish for you is that you take the time to do this, to really say, okay, fine, I'll do what that dipshit Brian said to do, even if you have to be mad at me while you do it. And that you really take the time to say, why is acting important to me? And shut out the voices of mom, your aunt, your uncle, your sister, your brother, your children, the voices that make you feel like inspire you to stay small, to think that maybe it's not important. Good God, it's important. Right now, we're all watching TV and we think, oh yeah, we're just watching. My mind is bent every time I turn on the TV. I'm not watching shit TV. That might be partly why. But also like acting is so vital to what this planet is. You know that already. So if we can connect to our why, it will sustain us through looking for an age. I mean, this is like kids play once you get to this part of it for you, if that makes sense.
Yes, beautiful. That's great.
Yeah.
So before we wrap, Brian, can you just share a little bit about the gift that you shared for the Stay at Home Actor series?
Yes.
And let's talk about it. And
okay. So the gift is it's on your website, right? I don't have to give you. I should not give the URL, right?
You can if you want to. Everyone who's here has it anyway.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So dearnewagent.com, www.dearnewagent.com. I'm really proud of the URL, I'll tell you. And after working with lots of actors for quite a while, I just started pulling together like award-winning, I put that in quotes, templates of emails to reach out to managers and agents that worked. And these help you organize your thoughts. These, it teaches you, it comes with 5 days of training afterwards, 5 emails afterwards that tell you how to use these templates. And they're just jam-packed with ways for you to nail your castability, for you to be really clear and concise. And there's versions that are short, there's versions that are long, and help you how to do follow-up. It's 100% free, and it's dearnewagent.com. And I would if you get success with it or you have questions about it, you'll know how to reach me. And it also directs you to the Facebook group if you want to join me there.
Super, because that was the last thing I was going to ask. There are so many questions that we didn't get to answer. So if they have questions for you, is that a good place?
Yeah, the Facebook group is the best place. I will say sign up for the dearnewagent.com and it'll take you right to the Facebook group. That's the easiest way rather than looking for it on Facebook. I think that's the best way to grab it. Cool.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, sure.
Such a joy.
I'm going to stick around as long as I can because I love Christine, this next guest you have. I'm so excited for her.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, we're super excited. All right. Next up, we have Christine Horde, the booking magnet who helps actors book more TV. She's performed on Broadway, on feature films, primetime television, and is the author of, I have it right here, Playing Small, The Actor's Guide to Becoming a Booking Magnet. It is so good. We're going to talk about it today. Welcome to the Stay at Home Actor series, Christine.
Hi, mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. You look awesome.
Oh, thank you. You look beautiful, Elise. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me. Brian, sending you kisses. I'm over here taking notes. I'm like, come on, Brian, let him have it.
Yes.
It's so interesting to hear Brian because I don't get to hear you in your element all the time. So I feel like we get actors at different parts of the journey. Because I've had several who I took Brian's course and because there is a huge difference of the search of the agent. Now you have it. And then now what? And what are you doing? And so it was really nice to hear where you're coming from. Because sometimes people come to me and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, we're not doing that now. But that helped you get to that, which is needed. So I'm so glad I got here early. I was like, I hope I didn't interrupt. Shout out to Melissa, Anita, Crystal, Sharon, Jahari, Gloria, Kim, Trevor, some of my clients I see on the line. Yes, and to all of you who I don't know, I see Genevieve. I don't even know you, but hi, I see you, beautiful. Hi, yes. Hi, Mary. Hi, Sophie. Anywho.
Aww. So how are you in all this right now? What's it been like for you and today in this moment?
In this moment, I'm good.
Good. I hear you. I know it's up and down every day, right?
It really is. I've been having to honestly give myself grace and ease because even last night I put an Instagram post up and I took it down because I was in my feelings. But there's moments where and I know you must know what it feels like when you're trying to hold space for so many people. And as coaches, that's what we're doing that. But even those of you who are watching who are not coaches, you're holding space for your family, your friends, your kids, your husband, your wife, your partners. And each day is really different. Right. And so I've been maintaining. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I keep my therapist every Monday at 11 a.m. I'm grateful for her. And I'm grateful for my clients, grateful for moments like this where I get to look in your beautiful eyes and talk to you. Like those are the things I think I took for granted at some point. So to answer your question, all is well, all will be well. I'm just taking it one day at a time and being so kind to myself when I do not have the energy.
Mhm.
And when I got the energy, I go hard.
Yes, that's great. I feel that same way. Yeah. And do you feel like you need to be filling your cup more during this time?
I've had to get my cup filled. I've been like, I can fill my own cup. Look, I got cups. I'm good. But what this time is teaching me is no, you have to call that friend. You're not a bother.
Beautiful.
You don't have to be the strong one all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's relinquishing power, which we'll get into today. But that is surrendering and saying, God, I need help.
Maybe I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. And it helps, and my clients fill me up too, because they come to me, how it is, a teacher teaches what they need to be taught. Mm-hmm. Right. So you find yourself in the middle of coaching. You're like, oh, I needed that word. I needed that word today. So it's been a journey, but I feel like this time has taught us so much about ourselves. And how just to be prepared for so many different things. Like before we came on today, my power was out for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, doesn't my ring light have batteries? Wait, did I charge the batteries? Wait, it just made you, what about those things you're supposed to prep for?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the things to actually get you ready. That's why I love when Brian was talking about how having a website is cool, but it could take you down a rabbit hole. Like we're not always focused on the right thing at the right time and really getting the things we need to keep us ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So I have been, since the power came back, all batteries are charged. I'm like,
now you remember to do that for like the next few weeks, and then we forget. Right?
Yes.
So I love that you're wearing your booking magnet shirt, and I love
it's my uniform.
Your book is amazing. So valuable, so important. I love how readable it is. It's like not too long. It's easy for me to pick up and get right to it. For those who don't know your work as well, can you speak a bit about the idea of booking magnet and what that means, how to become one? I know that's a big question, but whatever you want to share.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to delve a little into quantum physics just for a moment. And I was never a science buff growing up, but what I came to understand, and let me just set the stage for you. Let's go Golden Girls style. Picture it, Los Angeles, 2011. Mm-hmm. In LA the first time, no clue what I was doing, fresh off Broadway doing Lion King for 5 years, have talent. Why am I not getting signed, Brian? Why are my agents not getting me auditions, right? All of that fell into depression, health problems, all that. And I knew there had to be more than waiting on Jesus. No offense to Jesus, but I just knew, what power did I have? Mary got excited. What's going on, Mary? I see you. And so I just knew there had to be more. So I really delved deep into personal development. Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Louise Hay, Lisa Nichols. And each one of them would also shed a light on who inspired them. And so I ended up in the place of law of attraction and Abraham Hicks and that whole world, and understanding that what I focused on expanded, whether positive or negative. I was like a light switch, on or off. You can't be in between. Mm-hmm. And I had to really understand that and take ownership of how I played a part in being a co-creator of my life, of the things that happens in my life. And that's a huge responsibility, because it's so easy to be like, they didn't, the man didn't, it's because of so-and-so. And when you got to just look here in this mirror every day and see, what am I doing for myself? It changed my life. And so I started to understand and really read books about quantum physics and law of attraction and understand that we are all energy. I am magnetic. At least I am drawn to you in this moment because I attracted you. I manifested you. And so all of us, each and every one of you on this line today, you may not even believe it. It don't matter. You don't got to believe it, because it's already working. It's at work in your life every day. Everybody around you, your friends, your family, the balance in your bank account is a direct reflection of what you believe and what you've brought into your life. And once I started to own that, I was like, well, wait a minute. That means I can speak life into myself. What are these affirmations and things they're talking about? Well, if I'm going to say if everything after I am is a prayer, because that's what I believe, well, I better be praying the right stuff into my life. And so when I wasn't getting work, I'm like, well, shit, excuse my language, I'm a booking magnet. You know what? I am a magnet, right? I attract things. Well, I'm a magnet. Well, I'm a booking magnet. And if you study with what's his name? T. Harv Eckhart, mess with his name. Yeah. He talks about being a money magnet and all this. I'm like, well, I'm a booking magnet. And I just started saying it to myself. I made t-shirts, put it on Post-its, wrote it everywhere. And guess what? Years later, I will be walking down the street. I'll be at the movies. Someone will be like, are you the booking magnet? Yes, I am. So now I have taught you how to speak life to me. And I speak life into myself every day. When I get new clients, I speak life to them. I get, it's the whole thing. And it's an awareness that you are energy and that you attract things. And so I'm attracting bookings into my life. And what that means is not just booking the job. I like to focus on booking the room because only one actor can get the job.
Right.
It does not mean you are not worthy, valuable, talented, but it's that actor's job. That wasn't your job. So I'm going to book the room. But guess what, Elise? When I walk in the room, I know I'm a magnet and I know I get to control the energy that I bring into the room. Thank you, Oprah. So when I walk in, casting directors are magnetized by me. And it's not by accident. I spend that work. And so actors want like, just, forget the mindset. Just tell me how you booking. Well, I'm telling you, I'm controlling the energy in this whole situation. Even from my house when I'm doing a self-tape, I send that tape like, ooh, this tape's going to be good. Ooh, it is all energy. And I get pumped up talking about it just in case, if you're new to me, I'm not angry. I'm just passionate. I have to always say that. She black.
I feel it. I feel your energy. It's so good.
I just get so pumped up about it because before this moment, I was so confused as to why a change was not happening in the way that I wanted it to. Mm-hmm. And it confused me and I felt like I was powerless. And I know a lot of actors out there are operating like Brian can give you all the tips. At least you can give him all the tips. But if you are not standing in a place of power, you will not execute them. You will second guess every single strategy you've been given.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. So it's for those actors who aren't quite there yet, who aren't standing in their light yet, what I love about your book is that, and someone asked they wanted to see the cover. So here's the cover.
Those arms, honey, huh? She got those arms.
I love it. So I love part 1 in your book where you really talk about the actor's fears. It was really enlightening because you just gave words to how the couple things. I don't think I deal with all of those fears all the time, but there were 1 or 2 that really spoke to me. And I was like, oh, okay.
Which one spoke to you? I'll run down all of them. And then I would love to hear what spoke to you, and then we can expound. Yeah. So I find that we, as actors, we deal with either fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of success, fear of not being good enough, fear of competition, fear of not having enough, and fear of time running out. I mean, I had a young lady in my inbox. She's like, I'm 25. I don't get my career going. It's going to be over. I'm like, whoo, relax, breathe. Yes. I just signed a 65-year-old woman to my inner circle and we're just getting started. So those are the ones that I find that come up a lot. So which ones resonated with you?
Yes, I would say 3 of them. The fear of time running out, I think, is an ongoing one, but it's interesting because I think that was biggest for me when I was probably between 20 and 25. Do you know what I mean?
Hollywood tells you you're old maid, you're not hot past 30, so you better get it together.
But I was fortunate in that I was one of those people that—
Mary, you all right? You okay? And I would call more names. I just can't see all of you.
I love it. I feel like I was one of those people that my professors in college were like, you're not going to work a lot till you hit 40 for some reason. I don't know why, but they were like something about your energy. So that was not helpful that other people put their limiting beliefs on me, but it is what it is. But I think the other fears are the fear of success and the fear of failure, which is interesting.
Run hand in hand.
Yeah.
The fear of failure, it's that thing, and as actors, we all know this. We get the audition. I talk about this all the time. I probably talked about this on the last panel I was on. And forgive me if you've been on many and you're like, she's saying the same thing. Yes. Maybe you'll hear it a different way this time. The email comes in with the audition. That's when it starts. The sabotage starts. I'm good enough for a co-star. Wait, 5 pages. Is this the right email address? Do they mean to send this to me? Yes, you. Now what? Now we have to show and prove. And you would rather blame it on your lights, your setup. You didn't have a reader. The power went out. My laptop, my iMovie don't work. It'd be so much easier to blame it on that than to own and step into, am I good enough in this moment? My signature course is Book More TV. And in module 5 of that course, you have the honor, and I do say honor, of getting me to audit your self-tapes. You get to send 2 scenes, and I get to, in real time, audit them and pick every little ism, every little thing I see, and so that you can go on and be the butterfly that you are. And out of the last course, I had 76 students, only 40 participated.
Wow.
And there was a young lady, and I won't say her name. A month later, and if you're on the line, you know who you are. She finally commented, it took me a month to even get the courage to watch your feedback.
Mm.
So many actors are signing up for classes and doing things and asking for feedback, but they can't even stand the moment to face it because the reality might actually be true. What if I'm not good enough? And I really am not ready to hear that. Mm. So instead, you blame it on all these other things and you show up to auditions, your self-tapes, half-assed. And if you only got the help and just owned, okay, oh, that does need work, thank you, then you can fix it. But it's easier to stay in the dark because that fear is so strong. And on the flip side, we go to fear of success, is what you talked about. Because then there's some of you here in this thread who have been series regulars, who have been on shows that have been on for a while, who maybe had a big hit, made a lot of money, whatever, and now that is gone and your identity was wrapped up in that gig and that gig is gone. Family's like, hey, when you gonna get that next gig? Oh, that's his so-and-so, he was on that show. What's the next thing you doing, baby? Now I have to answer that question. People are checking my calendar for my next gig. I don't even know it's quarantine now. I have no idea. Do I need to get a job at Ralph's? I have no clue. So it's like, if I never even make it that far, I don't ever have to deal with that. I'll just, dabble, do some community theater from time to time, do a couple of short films, it's fine. If I really wanted it, I would have been bomb, but I just decided to not go that far when that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's hard. That's that hard part.
Totally. I hear you. And I think there's one of your podcast episodes, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but where you're talking about what kinds of self-tapes are you sending in? Are you doing your best work? Or are you not doing your best work?
Are you getting it done versus done well?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody asked when Brian was talking about self-tapes and having that in lieu of demos or something, and someone asked, I can't remember who it was, and they said, do they need to be professionally done? I'm like, well, yeah, they need to look good. Yeah, yeah. If it's representing you, honey, if I see a wrinkled sheet, I'ma scream, okay? No wrinkled sheets, no shower curtains. Getting it done versus getting it done well. Getting it done just doesn't serve you.
Right. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're putting in that energy anyway. Might as well, what is your standard of excellence? No one can set that for you but you.
And that's powerful to be able to set that. Yeah. So once we determine what our fears, say I understand I've got that fear of success, how can I use that to either use that fear or transform through that fear? What do you want? How do you like to think of fear? Pushing it to the side or feeling it? And
how do you deal anyway? Yeah. I think the best way is the mistake is people expect fear not to show up. It's why I always talk about play scared.
Yeah.
Expect fear to show up. When you got that network, that callback with the producers, you're like, oh, I'm ready. I played my music. I did my meditation like Wendy Braun taught me to. I lit some candles. You're ready. And then all that starts to happen on the inside and it takes you off guard. That's the problem. Expect fear to come along. So you got that audition, expect this. People are like, oh, what are we doing today? We got an audition? Ha! Let's get it. And fear is ready to come on and tell you about all the things you're not good at, tell you how it's not going to work, tell you how you might trip as you walk into the room. When you expect fear to show up for the ride, it does not surprise you when it gets in the passenger seat. But now you are in control. Okay, I expected you. And anybody who follows me knows, and in my book, I like to give that name. I like to give it a name. Your inner critic, whatever that nasty voice is. Mine is Veronica. I talk about her in the book. She's a nasty bee, okay? But I expect her to come, and that's when she comes, that's when I know I'm on the right track. Oh, I'm on another level. Oh, and I have a dream and I have a vision for something, and she starts to get louder. I'm like, oh, I'm on the right track because she's getting loud over here. But I expected her to. She's trying to keep me safe. That's her job.
Yes.
Don't get me out of my comfort zone, because you know what, if you mess up, I respect that. But just like our parents had to just let us walk and fall and walk and fall, they know we get it eventually. Can you imagine if our parents was like, stop, you fell 3 times, just quit, call it quits, it's a wrap, you're gonna crawl the rest of your life, just whatever. Can you imagine? No, they had to deal with that. And as much as it hurt, you fell down, and they couldn't grab to hold you every time you cried a little bit. You had to just get your sea legs, and then you got them. Now you're running and riding bikes and doing all that stuff. So just expect it to come along and just acknowledge that and say, I'm going to play scared. I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway. There's a misconception that we become fearless, and I don't think that ever happens.
Great. That's so freeing. That's so freeing that at every level we're experiencing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you spoke a little bit into don't self-tape with a wrinkled sheet. Do you have other, let's talk about self-taping, because you're such a master at it. I love watching your self-tapes. I love the way as an actor, how you really transform yourself from role to role. I feel like your range is as big as you want it to be. For actors who are newer to self-taping, what would be like one or two things that you think are most important?
I think first and foremost, understand that I want you to start looking at your self-tapes like a mini short film that you just happen to be filming at your house or in your studio. The biggest mistake I see, again, I teach this all day, every day. Read. Actors don't read. I'm always amazed. Like, our job is to read scripts. We don't read scripts. We be just looking for our line. Where's my line? Yeah. Don't talk to this part.
Yes.
Oh, you done miss everything. It says she runs in the room, falls down, chokes James. James pushes her back. She pulls back up, and then she speaks. But you done missed all of that. You just starting the line at your line. I'm like, what are you doing? Did you read the script? So number one is read the script. Read everything that's crossed out, whether you think, especially with us as actors, when we're not getting a full script all the time, a lot of times we're just getting our scene. We might get some FYI pages, read it all, because at least it's clues. Even when you get your breakdown, if your team happens to send you the other breakdown descriptions of other characters who might be in your scene or not, at least helps. Everything is like playing a detective. You get to put all the pieces to the puzzle. So read everything. And I know there's casting directors that say don't read the stage directions, and that is a lie. They just don't want you to be doing the most.com, because some actors do. But you need to read it so that it gives you context. Another tip, and I was about to do a podcast episode about this, and I still am, be aware when you get the sides, sometimes casting wants to see it a certain way, wants to see your emotion in a certain way. But if you don't look at that top, left-hand side, be aware of the order of the scenes in the scene, because we're used to filming out of order. So when your sides come, they may have given you scene 10 first as scene 1, and then the next scene 2 for your audition is actually scene 4 when your character is first introduced. So if you're playing beats ahead of where you need to play them, you're missing clues because you're not reading it. Am I making sense?
Good point. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
We can be playing the emotion too soon. We can be playing the reveal too soon. So really pay attention to page numbers and scene numbers in your script auditions. And I think don't ignore editing. Don't ignore editing. If you don't know how to edit, go to YouTube and find a tutorial for whatever device you are using.
Got it. So you mean editing at once the self-tape is done, like the way you're putting it together?
Yeah. Having a little crosses off in the beginning, a little fade to black between scenes, making sure you're reading the directions. Do they want, if you're going to do 2 takes, is it on 1 take, or does the casting director want separate takes, separate files for each take, like reading all of that. Some people get tripped up and auditions due last minute and you just are not good at editing in iMovie or your PC, or you don't have a backup to the backup. Like we are in a moment now with this quarantine. We're not going back in nobody's casting room no time soon. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's had any resistance to this, it's time to get over it if you want to work. Unless you just, got a trust fund and you don't mind paying people every 2 seconds to come do it for you. Mm-hmm. But it's time to get your home situation set up and feel confident in it. And some of my clients in my Book More TV course have said, and shout out to Jahari, I think it was you who said it, like, I feel so much more powerful now. I have so much more control over the end result before. Yes.
Great.
Because I was just going to a studio and then hoping they sent the take that we agreed on, I hope,
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't know if it's your best work or not.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Before we wrap up, can you share a little bit about your free gift in the Stay at Home Actor giveaway?
Oh, yeah. It's called the Get Booked Playbook. And it's actually less of a playbook, more of a video training. But it goes along with my book. But even if you don't have my book, it's very valuable. I share 3 of my favorite techniques for getting into character, doing the mental work, and getting prepped for an audition. Even part 3 of the video series, I'm actually on camera walking you through how I use what I call my VAC technique to get into character and to get past anxiety and nerves and all that stuff. It's it's the mental work that a lot of actors don't want to do. It's so interesting because we say we don't want to do the mental work, but all we do is mental work. Mm-hmm. That's all we do.
Yeah.
To fully show up for our characters. Jahar's in the chat box. I see you. To fully show up for our characters. For me, guys, acting is very spiritual. I feel like we unzip ourselves, we come down to the white meat. And if you guys know from acting class, you're just here. And then I step into this new person, into the truth of this person. It's my job to fully show up and give this person an identity. So don't fall into the trap, oh, it's just a co-star, I'm woman number 2. No, who are you? What's your name? When's your birthday? Where are you from? Because it's those things that end up getting you recurring on a show. Shout out to my client, Roxanne, I don't know if she's on here or not. She had a co-star audition for a show on OWN called Greenleaf. It was a 2-line co-star. Fast forward to 4 or 5 seasons later, she is still on that show.
Awesome.
So don't underestimate those co-stars either.
Yes.
You got to fully show up for that.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to just read for it like, hello, ma'am, how may I help you? And just be like, whatever, this doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I spoke to Dewan Johnson a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how Bosch was supposed to be just a officer number 2 co-star, now recurring on 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so excited when I got to work on Bosch. He wasn't in my scenes. I was on season 5 of that show. I was recurring, I think 3 episodes. But yeah, and I thought that was a co-star, and ended up she got a 3-episode little mini arc.
That's so beautiful. So speaking of your work, I would love for you to just share maybe a couple roles that you've done recently that people can watch while they've got this time, if they do.
Oh, gosh, yes. I was in the most recent, for my sci-fi fans, Terminator Dark Fate. I'm in that. Was on Blackish. Mad and Bougie is the episode. That was fun. Listen, let me just be clear to any of my Black people in the audience. Like, when you're on a Black popular show, like, that gives you like all your street cred for that whole audience. Amazing. It's like, you could be doing a whole bunch of other things. And they're like, but where you on the Tyler Perry?
That's the only one that matters.
That is done in Philadelphia. I have a quick part in the new movie with Ben Affleck, The Way Back. I hate to say it, I forget some things that I'm on. I usually have to go to my own IMDb to remember. Mayans MC. I'll talk about a few roles that I'm really proud of. You might find them on Hulu. How about that? Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Randy, or whoever posted it.
Can I give you a shout out on one that I don't know if I told you about, but before I knew you, I saw you as Harriet Tubman on Timeless.
Yes, that was what I was really proud of.
And it was so stunning. And it was amazing to meet you later and see that actor who I was so moved by is you. And
I was so grateful for that. And especially because I got to producers there was a show called Underground that's off the air now, but I got to producers for Harriet Tubman for that. And of course, did not get it. Aisha Hines got it. She rocked it, but it was nice to be able to play it on network TV. I think Timeless playing Harriet Tubman, Sheila on Good Girls, season 1 was really a lot of fun. And SWAT, I did a nice guest star with Shamar Moore last season. So yeah, I've had I feel like I've cracked the code for my own way for television. And that's the stuff that I like to share with my students, because TV finally has become a game of sorts to me. Mm-hmm. And I love to study it and dissect it and see where I think every single one of you watching, if you have a desire to work in television, there is a space for you. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how old you are. Just start to find that. Start to watch TV like a detective. Start to watch it and dissect it. And then really go for those networks, go for those casting directors, because there is a space for you. And for me, and I know we're wrapping, but I always believe that we will find evidence of that which we search for. And when we can look and see someone who looks like us and sounds like us, the path has been laid and the proof is already there. So we can just follow in that path.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so thankful to have you, Christine. So folks, be sure to go get Christine's Get Booked playbook at StayAtHomeActor.com. And where else would you like folks to connect with you?
I stay on Instagram, actress Christine Horn. And we have an amazing Facebook group. I know you need another Facebook group, like you need a hole in your head. Hollywood Bound Actors is our online community, and it's really supportive. But you can always shoot me a DM on Instagram and the Hollywood Bound Actors podcast. Come check us out.
Yeah. Yes, perfect. And we'll link to all of that in the replay. Thank you so much, Christine. Feel free to stay
hang around for the next teacher. But nice to see you all. I'll be in the chat box.
Super honored. Okay. So you've heard from Brian Pataka and Christine Horn. What an incredible 60 minutes it's been so far. I'm so excited to bring on our next guest. Sarah Valentine is the actor's accent coach. And I think it's really amazing that we've got Sarah with us, because right now, as you're going through some actor training, I know a lot of actors are interested in using this time to train. What better time to pick up some new accents, whether you're in voiceover, you narrate audiobooks, or you're an actor working in film and TV. There's always something you could pick up. So Sarah, let's make sure I can see and hear you okay. I'm going to unmute you. Hey, Sarah, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Yes, you're on. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My absolute pleasure. I was zooming around this morning because it's like 10 o'clock in the morning here.
I was going to say, where are you tuning in from? New Zealand?
Yes, New Zealand. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I thought at first you were UK based, and I was like, this is going to be the middle of the night for her, but it's not. It's morning for you, right?
Yes, that's right. Yes. So thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, what a wonderful platform, and so quick thinking, like suddenly we're all going into this insane world, which, I didn't see coming. I don't think anybody did. And it's an amazing opportunity, really, to be able to talk to so many people, in one go. So congratulations to you for bringing us all together. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. You're welcome. My pleasure. Yeah, it's really great. So for those, first of all, how are you during this time? What's it like in New Zealand?
Well, we are very lucky, and please don't be offended when I talk about prime ministers or presidents. Our Prime Minister put us into lockdown 54 days ago, and we are now out, and we are at 0 cases. And it's been pretty crazy, though. Like, we've literally just 54 days ago, I think it was, she said, we have a 4 alert level system, so we know where we are all the time. So we went literally into level 2 as soon as we found out there were cases in New Zealand. Then within 2 days we went to level 3, and within 4 days we were in level 4, and then we stayed in level 4, and nobody was allowed to go anywhere. It was only essential personnel. And so I got to connect with you, and I got to connect with so many amazing people, because I'm usually on set, or I'm, working somewhere or teaching somebody. And I was able to sort of redevelop my accent courses, and I thought, everybody's stuck at home, what can I do? And so that's when I launched the $10 accent course, which is crazy, ridiculously cheap, but nobody can work, nobody can make any money. So it was like, what do I do to sort of like, keep going and keep working with people, but make it affordable for everybody? So I suddenly repurposed my courses and, those DIY courses instead of one-on-one. And I've been able to just keep kind of going, and we're very positive in New Zealand at the moment. We've got a lot of great things happening. The film industry it's going to start picking up, and it's going to pick up so much quicker than we thought. We've got shows like the little new Amazon Lord of the Rings shooting in New Zealand, but it was obviously before lockdown. And we recently did the Tom Cruise movie, the Mission Impossible stuff. So we get a lot of stuff that shoots here. Power Rangers is coming back. And I think because New Zealand has kind of come out, I mean, in 2 weeks, we might all be back in lockdown. I mean, I'm not saying that it's gone forever, but I'm really hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful.
Good. Oh, that's great. It's great to get a preview, hopefully. But I mean, that's great. Excellent. So with everything that's shooting, I'm curious about your accents that you teach. Do you kind of teach an array of accents? I know in your giveaway, you have specifically 5 accents, but what is your expertise?
Well, I like to think that I can teach any accent or dialect. So, I mean, obviously, whenever I do posts on Facebook and stuff, I go, I'm teaching standard British or standard American or standard Scottish. And then all the Scottish people and all the English people go, there's no standard version. And so, you kind of have to then go, well, you have to standardize things, and then you can hone in on an accent. So I do a whole bunch of accents, like just loads. But say, for example, with the standard British accent, you drive 20 minutes in England and you'll hit a different accent or a different dialect. And the same with America. I mean, the same in any country, really, no matter where you live, there's different, so you might be in London, but you drive down the road to Bath and there's a slight difference again. And then you go to Devon, or in America, I mean, you're over in LA. You drive across to New York and it's totally different,
Absolutely.
So, and then the South, so it's wherever you are. And then, of course, if I'm working one-on-one with an actor, so actors that I can't say any actors that I've worked with, well, not the big ones, because I'm not allowed, but if there's a specific place that somebody comes from, like Coignes in Georgia, I have to then go, right, okay, I need to really work on that particular accent and that particular sound. Sure. And I have little tricks and tips of ways of, getting into those accents. So when I teach an accent, I usually start off, if I'm doing a one-on-one. So should I carry on like that? Should I just sort of babble on about, if you want to just jump in and ask a question, feel free to. But when I'm teaching an accent, I usually start off with what I call a spark, and that's the trigger into the accent, so that whenever you're doing an accent, so as an example, my spark for my Scottish accent, I'd say, hello there, my name's Jerry and I'm from Scotland, and then I'd start speaking in a Scottish accent, and so that's how I get myself into the accent, and then I kind of remember where I'm sitting. So my spark for my Welsh accent would be, hello, my name's Sylvia Rees and I'm from Wales. So I attach a name and I attach a location, and that's how I get into the accent. I expect you're wondering what I'm saying now. But, so no matter what the accent is, we always kick in with a spark. So, hi there, my name's Sarah. I'm from Los Angeles, California. And when I went to university, I studied at Harvard Law. That's my American one. So, there's like loads and loads of different sparks. And so with each actor that I work with, if they've got a particular role that requires a particular accent, we then go, okay, so you're from this point or general, So particularly in New Zealand, we have a lot of American shows that come here. We just did The Wilds, and we've just done, we do Power Rangers every year, so everybody's got to be able to do an American accent. And so the standard American accent is that kind of TV California standard American accent. Mm-hmm. And so in terms of the whole lesson that I was actually going to teach rather than gabbling on is the top 5 accents that I think that every actor should have.
Yes. I was going to say, I'm curious to know what those 5 are. And as an audiobook narrator, and a lot of the folks on here are also audiobook narrators, sometimes you need to learn an accent super quick. So I'm intrigued to know what those 5 are. And then maybe also if we have time to talk a little bit about if you just have to do a small character and just learn an accent briefly, how to maybe get that spark and how to figure that out. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, remind me about that last bit.
Yeah, for sure.
The top 5 accents. So I think that every actor should have a standard American accent, because it's where the world of movies came from. It was America. So, like you have to be able to do that standard American accent. And then I have this thing about goody baddie accents, so there's the goody accents and the baddie accents. And so you've kind of got the standard American can be goody baddie, but generally it's a goody. Whereas if you head to New York, you've got your gangsters and, you've got your New York accent. So if you're living in America or wherever you are in the world, if you can do that goody standard American and that New York accent, you've got your goody baddie. And then if you want to have a kind of an in-betweener, you can go to the South, to be that nice person, but they can also be strange and weird, So like having those 3 sort of corners of America is a good little, American side of things. And then in England, certainly, there's a lot more British people coming onto American television. And so you've then got the standard British, which is kind of my accent, or you can tweak it up a bit and go for British RP, which is more like the Queen. But of course, again, not a lot of people talk like this anymore. Mm-hmm. But, Downton Abbey and shows like that, you've got that same sort of thing. And then in the UK, like you've got your LA for your goodie and New York for your baddie, you've got British RP standard or the neutral British accent, and then you have the Cockney accent, which is like London, sort of Michael Caine, and they all the gangsters and all that sort of stuff. And that's like, I love the Cockney accent because it's like, I think you end up using your whole mouth, and it's quite, you move around a lot. It's like, like bit gangster. So then you've got your Cockney accent. So, and then you can the same as you have the South in America, you can then go to West Country, which is sort of like Hagrid and Harry Potter. So that lovely kind of rich sound, which is kind of similar to your Southern American one, but it's the West Country of England, like, down there. So that's your 3-point corner there. Then going for those European sounds. So there's the European languages like French, the French English accent, which, when you say the French people, when they are speaking, it have a little sexy sound. And when you are talking, you must do a lot of pausing and thinking and, I don't know. Yeah. You've got this sort of like the French English is very sexy. But then you've got that baddie version again, which is terrible. But, the Germans, they've been the baddies forever. I mean, it's awful. Half my family's German, so I'm allowed to say it. But, still when you're watching movies today, the Germans, they come on and they have the guns and they will shoot the people. And so there's that sort of harsh, clipped, the German English accent. And then the Russians, I've got my brain, I'm jumping into so many different accents now. I've got to try and keep up with the program here. So like with Russian, like these sounds is very different in mouth and clip different words and things like this. So you don't speak English properly, but you do like language very clipped. So again, you've got the French English, the German, and then the Eastern European Russian-y sort of ones that, broaden you as an actor. You know, you kind of need to be able to, you know, go into an audition and be able to, you know, if the director suddenly goes, I like that, but could you do it in a American, or a, you know, can you just change it around a bit? Like I had an actor just recently, he lives in Bali, but he was auditioning for something that was in the States, and he learned the whole thing in an American accent because that's what he was told he had to do. And then he literally called me and was like, I need to do it in French English. It was like a complete, like, what? Like, how did they change that character so drastically that they went from America to French English? And so what I do in those instances is that if we don't have a lot of time, I do script recordings for people. So I'll quickly record the audition, fire it over, and then if they need to do a quick one-on-one, we'll tweak sounds and stuff like that. But generally, you know, it's like you've got to be able to have some sort of accents in your toolkit, you know. Mm-hmm. And then the last two accents of the list is the Scottish Irish, purely because they can be goody and baddie accents. And, you know, a lot of movies, when you're watching them, I recently watched a series called The Ship. And it was this plethora of accents. There was just, you know, and it was, I wish I'd worked on it. Oh my God, it would have been so much fun because, you know, they had the lot. And they did exactly, you know, like, it was funny because I've always talked about these 5 accents as the goody baddie, you know, variety. And they literally, it was a course. So if you want to learn an accent, watch The Ship. Because it had them all in there. So yeah, so those are the accents that I think that everybody should kind of dabble into, certainly, so that you've got them sitting there. And I know that with a lot of, I've been doing a lot of work, weirdly, through COVID-19 with voice actors, audiobooks, loads of audiobooks. I've been working with a lot of audiobook people, and I mean, I suppose I hadn't really thought about it like this, but you know, when you're reading the story, you want to be able to change.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it as a one-woman show when I'm doing it. So, and oftentimes a narrator, the author will randomly just throw accents in there in certain genres, like certain fantasy or cozy mysteries. Sometimes they'll just like, in that Russian tourist, or that Caribbean chef or whatever, and how to go there quickly. So that's great. So what have you found in the audiobook narrator world? What has that been like?
Well, I've never been so, I've never met so many people in such a short amount of time because, you know, my calendar's usually booked and I'm usually busy. And suddenly I'm meeting, I mean, I've just met people from all around the world, like just so many different places, a lot of Americans, and I've made some great friends, like from all over the States. And so it's, you know, like somebody will contact me and just be like, you know, I need to do like 5 lines like a Jamaican. And I'm like, okay, sure. You know, let's do that. And so I'll either record the lines for them and then they'll practice them. But yeah, it's literally been what you were saying. The Russian tourist has popped in to say whatever they've got to say and they're off again. And so, it's been really interesting to just have these really weird snippets of dialogue that don't really make any sense because they're part of a book. And of course, you can't read the whole book. Sure. But yeah, no, I've been doing that and just sort of like jumping in and helping people. And then because I launched these $10 courses, lots of people have been doing them and then moving on and doing the feedback courses, which has been really interesting because, you know, you're getting to meet them all and work with them in these courses. So yeah, no, it's definitely been a very interesting journey.
Cool. There's a lot of questions coming in if you're open to.
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
Melissa says, do you work with IPA?
Well, I'm actually going to start learning IPA. I've always kind of avoided it because when I'm working with actors, I have to work quickly. So I've created my own Valentine method. I call it the Valentine method because my name's Sarah Valentine. Why not? And my theory around learning an accent is that everybody hears differently. So how many people do we have in this group here today?
We have about 80 or 90 actors.
Right. Yeah. So every single person in this group, if I was to say, okay, as an example of the Valentine method, does everybody see the text box? Does everybody get that? Does you can all see it? Okay, so if I was to say, let's do a Scottish accent just for argument's sake. And I was to say, town was pure murder. Town was pure murder. Now, the actual words that I'm saying is town was pure murder. Now, Valentine method is that every single person in here, I'm going to say the sentence again, and I want you to write it exactly as you hear it, okay? So, town was pure murder. Town was pure murder. Town was pure murder. And then if you start to write in, can I see
yeah,
it?
Everybody can share that.
Okay. Now, you can see that all these people who have actually written it have all heard it differently. Mm-hmm. Town was pure murder. But you see, for that person to be able to repeat this, they say it as they've written it. And so really, I've stuffed myself up in some respects, because now any actor that wants to learn an accent can sit and watch a television show, use the Valentine method, and basically listen and repeat until they get the sounds right. Mm-hmm. And so just looking at this list of they all look completely different. Mm-hmm. And that's because everybody hears differently. So the reason I found this worked really, really well was, about 12 years ago, I was teaching a Chinese guy how to do an American accent. And I was saying, I want you to write it as you hear it. And then he wrote it in Mandarin. And then I suddenly went, oh, right, okay. So of course, people will write in how they hear it in their own language. Right. And so French people and German people and Russian people and all the different people that I work with from all over the world that speak all these different languages, they can then learn the accent the way that they hear it. Great. And so that's why writing down town was pure murder, look at that list, look at how that's written. It looks ridiculous. But that's the thing, is that now they should be able to repeat it back exactly as they've written it. So yeah, that's in terms of the question with the IPA. Yeah. If you've only got a short amount of time to work with somebody, once I'm listening to them and we're working one-on-one, I can kind of understand how they hear. Mm-hmm. Because I work with so many people, so that we can then create the language that's going to make them remember the accent.
Great. So it's finding that own personal shortcut based on the person.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. R. Williams writes, what are the best accents for an African American to have?
Oh, that's very interesting. Well, you see, this is the terrible thing, is that, you don't want to go into that whole typecasty thing, but you see, it also depends on what you look like. Whether it doesn't matter what color you are. In this day and age, you can be any race and come from anywhere. I recently worked with a Chinese girl who, she sent her photo over and she was like, yeah, we're going to do this session together. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And then we went into the session and she was Scottish. And I was just like, I couldn't compute. And she was so Scottish. All right, hen, how you doing? All right, because she was from Africa, but she'd moved to Scotland when she was a bubby. And off she went. And I was just like, and she was contacting me to learn how to speak like an American. So, as much as, African Americans, you might think, oh, well, maybe I should, hate to say it, learn how to do a Southern accent and, sure, go get yourself a New York accent, make sure you can do your standard American accent. But then, why not be Scottish? Why not come from London? Having a good Cockney accent as a black guy or girl, there's a lot of black people in London. You've got to kind of think where those pockets of people are, but there are pockets of people around the world these days. So it's not, you can't really type, as much as you can typecast, you can't really anymore.
Let's see. Then Joshua asks, would you recommend someone who looks ambitious to learn accents that fit them most, or is it worth branching out to be unique and something unexpected? And he says, I'm mixed and I was curious.
I don't really know how to answer that question. With the example of this actor that I recently worked with, who he'd got the role of a butler, and he had to obviously do it in an American accent, and then to have that jump to French was massive. You know, like it was just a complete turnabout. You know, he might as well said, "We want you to be Jamaican." You know, it was just like, how do you swap that over? So I think actors in general should have a go-to bunch of accents that they can just do, because you just don't know what will come around the corner.
That's such a good point. I've been trained in like Cockney, Russian. I've done some French, but as an audiobook narrator, I know I got like an 18-hour book last summer from having the Russian accent studied.
Wow.
Because it took place in Siberia. And so for an 18-hour book, I didn't do the whole thing in an accent, but many of the characters did have that. So having that foundation, it's not something that I would have been able to learn it in order to do that. They wanted someone with that training. So yeah, if you have accents in your toolkit, that's something that you can just
well, you can just call on it.
Right.
You know, if somebody, because I mean, a lot of people, I don't know what it is about accents, but a lot of people think I can't do them, which I think is really funny. Because, you know, people will be like, well, go on then, do a South African accent, or they'll just say a random accent. And obviously, as time's gone on, I've learned more accents and I've got better at accents. And, people will try and catch you out. And I think that you don't want to be in that situation like that guy was, where he suddenly had to go from American to French and not even have a clue. Like he just was just like, you know, he suddenly went into Jacques Clouseau, you know, the Pink Panther. It was like, oh no, that's really bad. Don't do that accent, you know. So I think that having a basis, you know, the $10 courses are like a really good basic learning tool. You get to keep all the audio, and it's, you know, it's a really good little course to go and do just to have it, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Michael asks, if you were going to suggest one all-purpose Middle Eastern accent, which would you study?
Middle Eastern accent. Wow. I
know we're throwing you all the challenging questions.
I know. A Middle Eastern accent. Yeah. I mean, you see, my whole thing is that I standardize things. So, you know, if you're going to do an accent, you want to be able to fit a middle line. You know, so with the American, it's like, well, if you can do the sort of coast to coast versions of accents, you know, I think there's an actor called Cliff Curtis who basically plays everybody. Like he's got such an adaptable look. He's actually from New Zealand, and he's actually Maori, however you want to pronounce it. And he's been Middle Eastern, he's been American, he's been a terrorist, he's been from Hawaii, he's been, you know, I think he even has his own show in the States. I can't think what it's called right now, but just Google Cliff Curtis. And so I think having an accent that is broad enough that you can cover off all Middle Eastern accents, you know what I mean? So that you're not just going, I'm going to come from a particular place.
Okay, so would that be picking a specific country, or? I
think across the board, well, I mean, again, it's that whole thing about the standard American. Mm-hmm. If you're going to pick an accent, you kind of want to go for the most popular version of that. So, you know, watching shows like The Ship, again, where you kind of go, well, they've got people from the Middle East in there and they all sound like this. You know, they've got people from Greece and they all sound like this. You know, like it's just, you know, it's just that sort of block of accents.
So like studying the shows that represent that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of actors, you know, you kind of that lovely lady before, was it Christine? Was that her name? Yeah, where she mentioned, you know, like if you can see somebody that's like you, and then you know that path has already been made, you know, like watching shows like The Ship, it's actually very addictive. I can still watching it. It's not particularly good. It's not good drama, but it's a good, you know, binge-worthy show to watch. Nice. But certainly from an accents perspective. But then there's also some really bad accents in there. But yes, kind of going, okay, well, this is the blanket baddie version of when they've got the Russians, and this is the French, and this is because they literally travel all over the world in that show. And, you know, any James Bond movie, you know, there'll be a baddie from somewhere, and then that's that standardized, you know, accent for that region. Okay. So does that kind of...
Yeah. That's cool. That's probably a jumping off point. And then, yeah, we just have so many specific questions. I'm so thankful for you being open to it. Do you work with people whose English is their second language and are trying to perfect their American or British accents?
Yeah, I do a lot of accent reduction. So what I tend to do with accent reduction courses is that if they're an actor, then I will get them to pick a monologue in whatever accent they're wanting to learn. I have a lot of Russian or Eastern European people that I've just recently worked with who have tried to perfect their American accent. And then I've got a lot of South American people also that have been trying to perfect their standard American accent. So one of two things is that I will either do a monologue that they want to have so that they can then record that so that they can give it to their agent, or we just work on standard words and sentences and phrases that they would use in their day-to-day life at their day job. So if they work in a bar, then we would talk drinks all day, you know. If they work in a restaurant, then we would talk, you know, hi there, what would you like for, you know, can I get you a menu, you know, that sort of stuff. So just going through general day-to-day sentences so that they can then perfect their day-to-day lives.
Okay, great. Do you have time for two more questions? There's so many questions, so we're not going to get to all of them. This is another specific one, so I don't know if you have an answer for this or would go to something more general, but Lisa asks, in recent times, there have been more shows in theater and television with Nigerian and or other types of West African characters. Yep. Do you have a suggestion of developing a West African accent that could be considered standard?
Oh gosh, that's an interesting answer. I think West African accents, I used to live in London, and I think that when you're talking about an accent that you can cross-purpose, Nigerian is probably one of the top accents because it travels well. You know, again, it's that kind of thing that, going back to that London Cockney accent, you know, in the African department, the Nigerian sound, it slices it straight down the middle. It's kind of, it can be good, but then you stick a gangster slant to that Nigerian accent and he's going to come after you. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's really that cross between the two. So yeah, no, I think Nigerian would probably be a very good one to do because it hits both areas.
Cool. Thank you so much for getting to the specifics on that. Can you share a little bit about the gift that you shared? I know you've talked about the $10 courses, and can you talk a little bit about the 5 accents? I know you've covered them, but share a little bit.
So I have a book on my website, which you can download. It's an ebook, and you just go to actorsaccentcoach.com, and then there should be like a pop-up, or at the bottom of the page, you can download that book.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean, it's just a really good little book. And then of the courses that I run, they kind of interlink. The only one that I don't have a physical online course for is the German English. But again, I do that as a one-on-one if people want to do it.
Cool.
And going back to those African accents, like the most African accents that I've done is the Nigerian accent and the Jamaican accent. So a lot of times, you know, you've got the jump between the two accents. But if I did have to go into a very specific African accent, I'm sure I could get in there somehow.
Yeah, you go in and study it. Okay, cool. Well, this is so great. Thank you so much for sharing this. And if folks have more questions for you outside of downloading that ebook, is there any other way that you prefer they keep in touch?
Um, Absolutely. Flick me an email, sarah@actorsaccentcoach.com. You're more than welcome to email me. And yeah, I do Facebook Lives on the odd occasion when I have time. Suddenly New Zealand has opened up again, and we're really hoping that productions are going to start kicking in again. But yeah, just send me an email, send me a message. I'm also on Instagram at Actors Accent Coach and on Facebook at Actors Accent Coach as well. So yeah.
It's been a really awesome 90 minutes. Thank you so much to Brian, to Christine, to Sarah for being here and sharing your wisdom. Thank you for the wonderful gifts you've shared. Again, everyone, you can find that at StayAtHomeActor.com. Definitely share this with your friends. It's not too late to sign up for the Stay at Home Actor series. All the replays will be available in the next week or two. Thanks so much to everyone for being here.
Thank you very, very much for having me.